Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Welcome again to another show of ISV Connect Live. It's an honor and pleasure to welcome Christoffer from Korn Ferry to the show. But before we make introductions to him and looking forward to this amazing dialogue, a couple of quick housekeeping items. One, celebration of Juneteenth. So for those of you outside the U.S. that aren't aware, it's now a U.S. federal holiday. And Juneteenth kind of means something to me, not only as an immigrant, but the fact that it's Emancipation Day, or you might know it as Freedom Day, or Jubilee Day, or Liberation Day. And this day is special because it really marks the day in 1865 when Union soldiers arrived in Texas and informed the last enslaved Africans that they were free. And so it's one of those days of self-reflection. And I know many of you who may be watching could be a holiday yourself, but we truly, truly appreciate you spending the time with us, to celebrate and acknowledge this very important holiday in U.S. history, but also the fact that you might be watching this on your day off. So thank you so much. The other thing that I wanted to, again, set the tone of is that throughout this conversation with Christoffer and Korn Ferry, we like to do a couple things. One, if where you're watching from today, you might be watching it from somewhere in the U.S., like for me in Seattle, or you might be watching it somewhere around the world. If you want to type in the window just where you're watching from, we'd love to highlight you and showcase you and say, hey, thank you for watching. And then also throughout the conversation, if there's a question that may pique your interest when I'm having this great dialogue with Christoffer, if there's a question you would like it to ask us live, we typically have space for one or two, depending on how much time we have left towards the end. So feel free to do that as well. And then throughout the conversation, definitely leverage the LinkedIn emojicons, like, comments, etc., because it gives us an opportunity to understand if it's actually resonating. So with that being said, welcome, Christoffer, to the show. Thank you so much for making the time out of your busy calendar to actually spend some time with us.
Thanks, Brian. It's great to be here.
Great. So as we always like to get started, the first questions I typically like to ask is, well, first, give people introduction of what do you do? Because you have a very senior executive role at Korn Ferry. And then one of my favorite icebreakers that I always have my guests talk about is what's one thing not on your LinkedIn profile that you're open to sharing?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. Great to be here, Brian, and equally Korn Ferry excited to celebrate a day of reflection for Juneteenth with all of our friends at Microsoft and around the world as well. I've had amazing 3 years here with Korn Ferry the last years, and my role is in our KF digital business. So I run all of our go-to-market sales activities there, and I'm also the global solution leader across Korn Ferry for our sales and service business. So I spend a lot of time with our clients, chief revenue officers and their teams on some of the joint solutions that we've done with you that we're going to talk a little bit about today. And I think you asked me one thing that's not on my LinkedIn profile, and one thing that's interesting that's not there that probably seemed less relevant when I was younger, but actually is quite meaningful, I think, is that when I was a young guy graduating from high school in Denmark, I spent some years traveling around the world selling Danish design furniture. And
wow.
And that gave me, I think a very global outlook, very young age, and the love of working with people from different backgrounds and different nationalities. But it actually also gave me an early view into the world of selling. And that's been a great experience that I've actually treasured. The older I get, the more I look back on that and thought it was an amazing experience. So funny fact.
Oh, I love it, Christoffer. Gosh, selling furniture is one of those things. We all buy furniture. And so maybe
Right.
the follow-up question of that is, what was the one piece of furniture that was your highest selling item? Was it a couch?
It's interesting. Back, we're talking very early 90s, late 80s, early 90s, to reveal my age a little bit. And back then, Danish design furniture, especially I spent some time in the U.S. sending that. That was kind of like modern more darker wood teak furniture, and there was some. I remember there's some special like dining room sets that was hot sellers, and I dialed up a little bit my Danish accent and figured that always worked in my favor trying to sell this Danish piece of furniture. So, small tricks that you learn quickly when you are working on commission.
Yeah, absolutely. Relationships, and then of course relatable, because of people buying Danish furniture. They're like, oh, a Danish person's actually selling me this furniture. Right. So that I love it. Exactly. So before we get into kind of the meat of the show, let me do a quick shout out to people watching the show. So John, hey, thank you so much watching from Cincinnati, Ohio. Courtney from the Great Pacific Northwest, of course, where I grew up and currently live as we speak. Alberto, thanks for watching from Florida, from probably sunny Florida. Rodrigo, thank you for watching from Sao Paulo, Brazil. Fantastic. I've been there a few times and I love the city and of course the food that's down there. Steve, thank you so much for watching from good old Boston, Massachusetts in the northeast of the US. Another Sao Paulo, Glauber, hopefully I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Renan, thank you again. Gosh, we seem to have a run on people watching from Sao Paulo, so thank you so much. And then finally, Martin from the Netherlands, a Dutch person, just of course south of Denmark. But anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for again making the time on a holiday, but also spending time with us and listening to this dialogue. So, Christopher, maybe the first just obvious question is, what does Korn Ferry do? I think there's some people out there that think about Korn Ferry going, Korn Ferry, why does the name sound so familiar? Well, Microsoft, of course, not only are you a strong partner, but we use many of your services. So we're very, very familiar with Korn Ferry. But why don't you give the audience a little bit of a background of what Korn Ferry really does?
Yeah, so probably two parts to that. I mean, I think probably the first part is probably the known part that I think most people know, which is Korn Ferry is the world's largest executive search firm, $3 billion in annual revenue, more than 10,000 employees in more than 50 countries. We place an executive or a professional in a role every 3 minutes across a year. So we have amazing relationships with executives across functions, across industries, and across. We've also, continued our relationship with the people business and more HR consulting related stuff. So we do a lot of organizational strategy consulting, the leadership assessments. We have done more than 68 million leadership assessments that we have data points around. We do a lot of benefits and rewards consulting. We have data from more than 25,000 companies and their pay data in our database. So, lots of stuff that we do in this HR, people management, aligning people and organizations to the strategy of the business. But two facts that might be less well known, but this is actually relevant for this conversation because this is kind of mainly the space in which we have started our relationship with Microsoft. Is that one, we have tremendous amount of IP and data and technology assets as well. And we, a couple of years ago, formed a business unit called Korn Ferry Digital. That is essentially the business that we go to market with for all of our technology and IP and data assets in that space. And it's about 20% of our business. It's the fastest growing business that we have. So we're very excited about that. And the second thing that might be a little bit news, but relevant to this as well, is that we don't only serve an HR audience. We actually serve heads of sales as well. We acquired a very well-known, probably the most well-known sales and service training provider called Miller Heiman Group in 2019, and acquired a tremendous amount of relationships and IP assets in the development of sales professionals. So people might have heard, courses like strategic selling, conceptual selling, blue sheets, green sheets, growth sheets. That's all the methodology that we are acquired. So, and that's really, the space that we are, that I'm running today, and that we have our relationships with Korn Ferry today. Or with
I love it. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that great background, Christopher, because it is a broad swath of capabilities that Korn Ferry really can provide to joint customers. And so maybe that's a good dialogue or lead into what are the joint outcomes? I mean, you referenced, of course, this amazing acquisition of Miller Heiman. And I think in many of us who've been in sales for a long time, including myself,
Right.
we've all heard of them. I mean, we've
Right.
all seen that. And we've also seen, like you said, the blue sheets or the scenarios that have very specific things to drive better conversations with, of course, targeted buyers. So maybe you can describe some of these amazing joint outcomes that Korn Ferry Digital and KFSell really helps to deliver.
So, so we basically looked at how do we take all these amazing assets we have from Miller Heiman Group, Blue Sheets, the methodology, and how do we take it outside of not just having it in the classroom, but how do we make it accessible where a seller and sales managers do their work every day? And a big part of that work, right, happens in the CRM systems like Dynamics. So we created with the Microsoft Teams as well, an app that we call Korn Ferry Sell, which is essentially embedding the Miller Heiman Group methodology inside of the CRM to help sellers better manage their opportunities, and also to help sales managers and chief revenue officers get a better sense of the pipeline, the quality of the pipeline that they have, leveraging the methodology. So it provides a lens for a sales organization to take all this massive amount of data you often find in a CRM, right, and get it more focused and simplify the usage on the things that really matter. And I think, we've had tremendous reception on this, because I think one of the problem it solves, Brian, is, as you know, sales is a complex world right now, and there's lots going on externally that you can't manage. Buyers themselves are, much more informed that they used to come to a seller, say, how can you help me solve this problem? Now they obviously have all this information on the web at their fingertips, and they engage sellers later in the process, and often they're much more informed. So the shots you have on getting your sales conversation right are really pivotal moments, right? They really matter. So it means that you need to be better prepared. And KFSell, I think, provides the methodology to get a better sense of the opportunity and the strategic alignment with that opportunity and what you have to offer, so you're better prepared going into these ones. So an interesting data point is that what we've seen is that when you apply this methodology that we have inside of the CRM, sellers get about a 16% increase in win rate when they use the methodology, and they get about, on average, a 10% higher quota attainment rate. So there's real tangible financial outcomes of some of the stuff that we're doing there.
Yeah, Christopher, thank you for sharing that, because for anyone on the phone, and you do some basic math and you think about the increase in those sales pursuits and the outcomes, that means more revenue. And so if you're a sales leader or chief revenue officer that may come across this live, maybe you're watching it live now, or maybe the replay, that's a very powerful ROI and outcome that can be driven. And I think one of the things that you hit it spot on, Christopher, is that the way that selling has changed continues to evolve, because we think about the pandemic too. That totally changed sales, because no longer, I'm sure when you were selling in your point at the very beginning, when you're selling furniture, probably many of those conversations were face to face. And
absolutely.
Now with the pandemic, and it's easing back into somewhat of what we used to do. However, hybrid is still always going to be there. There's still going to be an opportunity where people are going to travel. And so utilizing the methodology and incorporating that type of engagement, as well as incorporating it in the context of your CRM tool like Dynamics, is super critical, because I'm sure you would agree, you don't want to have a methodology in your CRM doing things disjointed. You want to have that information all together in one. So,
and I think, one of the things that we have seen that I think actually even the impact there has really surprised us positively is that, CRMs initially, I think, basically was the place of record for all the opportunities, right? So really the initial value was a lot for sales leaders, sales managers, right? Because it was much better for them to do their forecasting, their pipeline visibility, all that kind of stuff. But for sellers, they've often struggled to think, okay, is this a compliance thing or is this a thing I actually get value from, right? So I think the two together, because KF Sell is really a tool for sellers to help them think about better managing their opportunities. So we've had some great testimonials from sellers that said, I go to the CRM now. I like to go to Dynamics and use my KF Sell because it's actually helping me. And as you know, Brian, like there's a little bit of a problem also today of data paralysis because there's so much data and so much analytics. And so some of this methodology can really help you get focused. So that's what we're trying to do with the app. It's not terribly complicated, but it focuses you on the 5 to 10 things to understand the opportunity and how relevant it is, and whether you should how you double down in pursuing it, or whether actually it might even be a bad fit and you should probably focus your time and effort elsewhere, right? So I think it's been a big help for sellers. We have 80% of sellers that use KF Sell return every single week to update their blue sheet, which is a really great stats for us because it means it adds value to the front line and to sales managers. To your earlier point, Brian, it's a more virtual world. Sales managers struggle. I'm seeing a lot in my conversations with how to coach their sellers because they can't joint travel anymore, right? And so how do they really make those coaching moments impactful? So anchoring around a common language that the methodology can provide, a common language about talking about opportunities or talking about pipeline, helps facilitate coaching conversations for managers as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Christopher. All points are spot on, and I love your comment that CRM tools used to be this pain of, oh my gosh, you're just putting data in and you're not really getting it. Right. It's beneficial to sales leaders because they can kind of see what's happening, but the day-to-day stuff as a seller, you're like, I just need to put stuff in. But now if you put stuff in, you get value back out because there's information and insight that it's feeding to you to give you that insight. So before we get to the next question, let me give another shout out. So we have a few more people that were commenting on the show where they're watching from. So Diana, thank you for watching from one of my favorite places in the U.S., San Diego, California, because it's nice and warm and it's a beautiful location south in California. And then Harry, another person from watching from California, from Tustin. So thanks for making the time to listen and learn.
Great.
So what does because we started this partnership. Gosh, it's I think it's been over a year since our teams, especially on the global level, started really getting engaged, Christopher. So maybe you could describe a little bit about what's that Korn Ferry partnership been like from your lens and from what you've been experiencing in this journey that we're on together to deliver these amazing outcomes to these leaders, especially in sales, but in other places that we're going to talk about towards the end of the show.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a great experience, right? I mean, we started with the product teams, our product teams, your product teams, really collaborating around how do we make this experience the best? How do we really kind of match mix the peanut butter and the chocolate, right? In terms of the methodology inside the CRM and make that a good experience for current Dynamics users and folks who've, known our methodology as well and want to embed that. So that's been a tremendous experience. So we spent, the last 18 months we've been working together, right? And we launched KF Sell. And I should say right now, right, we are IP co-sell ready. So this is a phenomenal opportunity for the Microsoft teams to dig in, right, and really get this narrative out there around how to apply a leading edge kind of methodology inside of a CRM to get user adoption. I think is a great opportunity. So I think we're at a stage now where we're really digging in globally with your sales teams as well, right, in each of the regions to figure out where do we have joint opportunities. How do we take this conversation to the next steps? we've just launched an opportunity. If anybody is interested in participating in that, I would welcome people to follow up with me, where we're launching kind of a joint workshop where we're using our methodology to essentially offer a free assessment of folks' sales strategy, leveraging some of our methodology, and get more value from investments that they might already have made in Dynamics, right, by using that. So I think this is a great opportunity that we are offering to potential clients and partners that we have together, that we normally charge for. But the interest here is really to get kind of a good embedded conversation about the opportunity. So we're excited about it. It was great. It's been a great journey so far, Brian.
I love it, Christopher. And I know we have a lot of people on the Korn Ferry side. Maybe they'll put that in the window, and we have a couple of sites at the end to give people awareness to the partnership, the alliance perspective. And thank you for making all those comments, because one thing I've seen it, witnessed it myself, is that ever since the solution went, what we refer to as IP co-sell ready, which is just a term we use at Microsoft to say we have partners that are actually ready to co-sell with us to drive this amazing outcomes to customers all over the world. And I've already seen success, not only just with pipeline, but we have wins under our belt, which is amazing to see, because that's one of the hardest things initially when any new ISV gets into our ecosystem is how do you differentiate yourself to the other solutions sitting in our marketplace, but also just getting the word out that this new solution exists. And our teams have done a really good job of continuing to get that awareness out there, so that people could take advantage. So when we get to the next question, this is one of my favorite ones, because this really is where we see the amazing value that customers can experience from both organizations. So maybe you could talk about, Christopher, from your lens and from your spot in the organization, what are some of the customer stories that you've seen, that you've witnessed, and that you've experienced when someone gets Korn Ferry Sell, sees Dynamics, and they put the two together to really drive these amazing outcomes and these statistics of improving sales win rates, opportunity pursuits, etc. Maybe you can highlight a few or one of the examples that you're really familiar with.
Yeah. So, we have, I think one of the best stories we've had so far is a marine manufacturing company that's kind of in the oil services space that we work with together. This was actually an interesting one, because this was a company that had a new head of sales coming in, trying to get more momentum in aligning a global sales organization that actually just switched from a different CRM to Dynamics. And he also came in and he had experienced, as many other sellers have before, the Miller-Heiman Group methodology, the blue sheets, etc. And so we actually jointly had this conversation with him, because you guys were already in there talking about the new CRM. We had a conversation about the training, and being able to join those two pieces up to say, okay, well, here is an opportunity to leverage the methodology to get a common language of sales and sales opportunities inside of your business, right? That was part of the challenge. Big global, everybody talked about opportunities and pipeline in a different way. And so it was very kind of unwieldy to try to figure out a baseline and manage that. So the methodology really allowed to do that. But the fact that both of us could go back and say, hey, here's an opportunity to embed the methodology inside of your new CRM, so you really get a way to not just push the CRM to sellers, but actually drive the pull in, because there is a tool for them to use inside of that. Actually, the quote that I mentioned before around the seller that says, actually, I find myself going into the CRM because I find a tremendous amount of value there and I want to come back to it, was from that client from the first early quarter that we had launched with them. So I think what that did for them, I think the thing that stands out for me was really it helped simplify and focus the conversations we have inside the organization, narrowing and doubling down on a couple of key concepts about how we define a great opportunity, how it's strategically aligned where we want to go as business. And we can kind of have an apples to apples conversation, whether my sales team is in Australia or North America. So I think that really put the two together, help create a really strong pipeline, and that's where they're starting to see some of these rates that I mentioned before, right? Higher win rates, and better opportunity to meet their quota assignments for the year. So super exciting. We are, I would say, still kind of early on with that client, but even the first kind of 8 months here, we've seen really, really good positive impact.
I love it, Christoffer. Maybe just to highlight a few is your comment on having the same lens of like what the definition is through the sales process. I think many sales organizations struggle to say, okay, what determines something that's qualified? I'll just use basic terms like, how do you get to a basic lead qualification? Or how do you know that a lead is actually translated to an opportunity? There are probably a lot of steps that many customers take, and especially in the Korn Ferry sell methodology. But I think that's one of the amazing things that you guys provide is that structure, same language, to your point, or what I like to do, same currency. You're just talking the same currency of exchange to then drive amazing outcomes with the customers. So I know we're running out of time. I'm going to flash up a couple things that your colleague Courtney put in the window. So definitely take a screenshot of this. This is some of the things that Christoffer was mentioning, because this is a good segue to our kind of a final question. But if you want to learn more about the partnership, Korn Ferry Sell, and connect with the great people at Korn Ferry, just take a screenshot of this, and then you can go to this page later, krnff.bz/3zxgtds is a great way to get in contact. So to close out, Christoffer, on this amazing, great conversation, because of course we can go longer just to talk about these things, but of course we try to keep these shows within 30 minutes. But maybe you can share, how do people learn more? What are the call to actions that you would like to share with the people either watching live or maybe watching the replay on?
I mean, we'd love for folks to get involved. I mean, I would say Courtney shared some stuff there, but otherwise go to kornferry.com/Microsoft. That's our partner website. And you can find all the information there. There's a little demo in there as well to get a better sense of it. So I would ask people to do that, or, connect with me on LinkedIn, or any of my colleagues. We'd love to have a conversation with you as we're building out this ecosystem of partnership with Microsoft.
I love it, Christoffer. And I'm going to flash up one more slide as well, besides what Courtney and what I flashed up before, is if you also just go to AK or just screenshot this or bookmark it for later, this goes to the solution that actually exists on Microsoft AppSource. So that's always a great place to start, to read a lot of great insight and detail as to the value that Korn Ferry can actually bring to your either existing or maybe hopefully future Dynamics 365 implementation as it relates to specifically sales. And maybe the last thing that before we close out, before we get to a video, just for those who want to stay on, we have about a 3-minute, 40-second video that really provides some depth on to the amazing innovation that's happened with Korn Ferry Sell and Microsoft. But maybe, Christoffer, as a last parting comment, anything to comment on what are we doing next? Like what are some of the innovation that we're working together? Because we started the partnership on the ISV side, specifically with Korn Ferry Sell and, of course, Dynamics 365 Sales. But there's many more richness that we're doing together. And would you like to make any comments on maybe the continued innovation of other things that we're exploring?
Yeah, I think there's really two avenues. I mean, we're excited to continue the sales journey, right? And expanding KF Sell into all the other environments and that you have in Microsoft. So, extensions into some of the other social collaboration tools, Teams and other places. Think about it. You have a great opportunity in this virtual selling environment. You want to talk about an opportunity. What better way if you're a Microsoft user to go into Teams and collaborate on deals through Teams, through the tool. So things like that we're really excited about in sales. And then, as I mentioned before, we have tremendous assets in the broader talent work. So one of the things we are working with you on is how do we help companies in the places where there's one of the hardest kind of talent wars going on around tech talent. So we are kind of working on building a tech talent career opportunity to better provide tech talent with learning development opportunities, career journey opportunities. And we're super excited about that solution that we're bringing to market later this year. So much more to come on that.
I love it, Christoffer. Well, thank you again so much for taking the time on a federal holiday, Juneteenth. Also want to acknowledge for all those fathers or father figures out there. Happy belated Father's Day. In case you weren't anyone listening to this, it was actually yesterday. So happy belated Father's Day to everyone. And thank you so much for making the time, Christoffer. We truly appreciate the Korn Ferry partnership. And again, I encourage everyone to stay on for about another 3 minutes and 40 seconds because we have this amazing video to showcase on the great value. So thanks again, Christoffer, and take care, everybody. Talk soon.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep, thank you.
Introducing KF Sell, enabled by Microsoft Dynamics 365. A solution designed to enhance the sales performance and effectiveness of your sales team, powered by Korn Ferry Intelligence Cloud. KF Sell unlocks the best-in-class sales methodologies to key opportunity and account management. Organizations that have embedded a formal sales process within technology increase their win rates by 13%. KF Sell enables your clients to leverage a consistent, proven approach for all sales opportunities across the sales cycle, from qualification through implementation. It will help your sales leaders and sales team manage and progress their opportunities and help them recognize their key actionable insights correlated to winning faster and more often. Imagine a seller, solutions expert, project manager, and leader collaborating on a key deal, discussing what needs to happen to win the opportunity and ensure the client can ramp to achieve higher consumption rates. The 30,000-foot view in the sales funnel ensures the time spent collaborating is focused with clear direction on the activities that move the deal forward. As the sales team engages early with the customer, they leverage a scoring tool to assess the fit of the opportunity based on qualification criteria most correlated to winning and readiness to consume their solution. As the customer advances through their buying process, the sales strategy is reassessed, and new information is uncovered by the seller and project manager in every customer meeting. The team updates the score, and KF Sell provides insight on the next best-selling activities to drive the corresponding customer actions that evidence deal progress with supporting enhanced on-demand training. This assess risk, take action to move the deal forward continues until close, with KF Sell verifying via scorecard along the way that the deal remains one worth winning. The repeatable, systematic process, captured in Microsoft Dynamics 365 Opportunity Strategy page, also ensures the sales team has proper access and engaging effectively with key decision makers. And in addition, ensuring the team also can evidence the customer's key value drivers and expected benefits that will influence their decisions. Linking strategy to action is a critical component of winning opportunities. With an updated value selling strategy, sellers can easily plan their customer conversations, ensuring they obtain unknown information, address risks, and provide perspective and value in every conversation to move the deal forward. Visual dashboards and scorecards summarize key information to help seller and leader make more informed decisions on which deals and selling teams to focus on. With visibility into strategies and progress, the seller and leader know where to allocate their coaching time and the selling resources for best results, and be more confident in the sales forecast they provide to leadership via Microsoft Dynamics 365. We hope you enjoyed our overview of KF Sell for Dynamics 365. Korn Ferry is excited about our partnership with Microsoft in helping our joint clients leverage world-class sales methodology and technologies in breaking through to new levels in their selling potential with a substantial and predictable results-oriented solution. To request more information on KF Sell and Korn Ferry, please reach out to us at the following email. We look forward to hearing from you.